Hello students, welcome to the lecture on managing marketing communication, and after the lecture we will be able to learn the following objectives. Explain marketing communications, discuss on communications process, understand communication models, discuss on verbal and non-verbal communication, explain the types of business communication, discuss on personnel selling, explain public relations and publicity, define direct marketing, explain the selection of promotion mix. Let us start with an introduction to managing marketing communication. The marketing communications has a mix. Elements of the mix are blended in different quantities in a campaign. The marketing communications mix includes many different elements. It is recognized that there is some crossover between individual elements. Example is donating computers to schools by asking shoppers to collect vouchers, public relations or sales promotion. Marketing communication covers the selection and application of the main communication tools available to an organization in pursuit of its marketing goals. This work is often carried out by specialist agencies and involves both strategic thinking and the development of creative solutions. It calls for a blend of research-based knowledge with the practice of high level, often extremely creative skills. For marketing communications to be effective, it must stop communicating to customers and begin with engaging with customers in a meaningful dialogue. For starting conversations with customers, it is imperative that marketers look beyond mass media and leverage new media such as internet and social media. The program will give critical insights into harnessing the power of new media. The program will familiarize participants with the process of marketing communications management. The program engages with the key decision areas in marketing communications management, communication strategy, creative strategy, media strategy, and communication effectiveness. The program draws on theoretical underpinnings of consumer behavior to understand how advertising and communications work. While the program will enable participants to understand the micro issues of advertising, it will also enable seeing the linkages between advertising, marketing, and business strategies. The program will explore issues and challenges in integrated marketing communications like public relations, brand placement, word of mouth, and digital advertising. Let's now discuss marketing communications. Marketing communications is nothing but the science and the art of communicating information that the company wants to divulge to the public. It is a department that deals in handling all communications for the company. Depending on the kind of company and the industry they are in, this department is sometimes called the corporate communications or the product marketing divisions at times. The information could be related to the marketing of a product, talk about a new product launch, or a community initiatives taken by the company. The whole exercise is called a science and an art because though there are set rules and patterns to the manner in which communication should be drafted, the ability to communicate effectively is an art that only some can master. Even as just communicating may seem an easy task, since that is what we do every day in our normal lives, there is a science behind what to communicate to whom and in what tone and manner. The process becomes more complex when the market to which one is communicating is an evolved market. To give an example of the underlying concepts of marketing communication, let us consider the example of the promotional emails that we receive almost every day. Any person who has some technology background will tell that the communication is filled with embedded action scripts, flash cookies, and a lot of technological techniques to decipher our movement through the internet. These are the best practices that are being used in marketing communications today. These technological wonders enable the marketing professionals to track the navigation of the user through the sites. It registers whether we open the email or not and the activities that we undertake once we have reached the landing page. It measures the amount of time that we spend on each page, the links that we click on, and therefore the products and the options that we are interested in. We shall now discuss the communications process. The transmission of sender's ideas to the receiver and the receiver's feedback or the reaction to the sender constitute the communication cycle. The process of communication begins when one person, the sender, wants to transmit a fact, idea, opinion, or other information to someone else, the receiver. This fact, idea, or opinion has meaning to the sender. The next step is translating or converting the message into a language which reflects the idea. That is, the message must be encoded. The encoding process is influenced by content of the message, the familiarity of sender and receiver, and other situational factors. After the message has been encoded, it is transmitted through the appropriate channel or the medium. Common channel in organization includes meetings, reports, memorandums, letters, email, fax and telephone calls. When the message is received, it is decoded by the receiver and gives feedback to the sender as the confirmation about the particular message has been carefully understood or not. The process of communication involves the following elements: the sender or the transmitter. The person who desires to convey the message is known as the sender. Sender initiates the message and changes the behavior of the receiver. Message. It is the subject matter of any communication. It may involve any fact, idea, opinion or information. It must exist in the mind of the sender if communication is to take place. Encoding. The communicator of the information organizes his idea into a series of symbols, words, signs, etc., which it feels to communicate to the intended receiver or receivers. Communication channel. The sender has to select the channel for sending the information. Communication channel is the media through which the message passes. The link connects the sender and the receiver. Receiver. The person who receives the message is called the receiver. Receiver is the person to whom the particular message is being sent by the transmitter. The communication process is incomplete without the existence of the receiver of the message. A receiver receives and tries to understand the message. Decoding. Decoding is the process of interpretation of an encoding message into the understandable meaning. Decoding helps the receiver to derive meaning from the message. Feedback. Communication is an exchange process. For the exchange to be complete, the information must go back to whom from where it started or sender so that he can know the reaction of the receiver. The reaction or the response of the receiver is known as feedback. Brain drain. On the whole process, there is a possibility of misunderstandings at any level and is called brain drain. It may arise on sender side if they do not choose the adequate medium for delivery of message by using default channel, and it may also arise when receiver does not properly decode the message. In other words, we can say there is a breakdown of the cycle at any level. The channels of communication. In an organization, information flows forward, backwards and sideways. This information flow is referred to as communication. Communication channels refer to the way this information flows within the organization and with other organizations. The importance of a communication channel. A breakdown in the communication channel leads to an inefficient flow in information. Employees are unaware of what the company expects of them. They are uninformed of what is going on in the company. This will cause them to become suspicious of motives and any changes in the company. Also, without effective communication, employees become department-minded rather than company-minded, and this affects their decision-making and productivity in the workplace. Eventually, this harms the overall organizational objectives as well. Hence, in order for an organization to be run effectively, a good manager should be able to communicate to his or her employees what is expected of them, make sure that they are fully aware of company policies and any upcoming changes. The types of communication channels. The number of communication channels available to a manager has increased over the last 20-odd years. Video conferencing, mobile technology, electronic bulletin boards and fax machines are some of the new possibilities. As organizations grow in size, managers cannot rely on face-to-face communication alone to get their message across. In order to make a manager's task easier, the types of communication channels are grouped into three main groups: formal, informal, and unofficial. Communication channels. Formal. Formal communication is organized and managed information that is shared with relevant individuals in order to secure coordinated action throughout the organization. Formal communication channels are based on an individual's role in the organization and distributed in an organized way according to the established chain in organizational charts. Typically, formal communication flows downward from executives to directors to managers to staff regarding company direction and the instruction, and upward from the staff to the managers to the directors to the executives in the form of data and reports. The communication flowing through these channels is specific to the jobs and departments. The better the communication, the better employees and staff will understand what is to be expected of them and required of them. Informal communication channels. On the other hand, informal communication in the workplace satisfies a variety of needs, particularly social and emotional, and is not based on the positions individuals occupy within the organization. As a result, the communication is not managed or planned in any organized fashion. It is more relaxed, casual, and tends to be spread by word of mouth quickly throughout a department or an organization because it is not restricted to approvals and an established path of distribution. Probably the most common term used for the informal communication in the workplace is grapevine, and this communication that is sent through the organizational grapevine is often considered gossip or rumor. While grapevine communication can spread information quickly and can easily cross established organizations' boundaries, the information it carries can be changed through the deletion or the exaggeration crucial details, thus causing the information inaccurate even if it is based on truth. Unofficial communication channels. The unofficial communication channel in an organization is the organization's grapevine. It is through the grapevine that rumors circulate. Although those engaging in grapevine discussions often form groups which translate into friendships outside of the organization. While the grapevine may have positive implications, more often than not, information circulating in the grapevine is exaggerated and may cause unnecessary alarm to employees. A good manager should be privy to information circulating in this unofficial manner and should take positive measures to prevent the flow of false information.
Business communication. In this video, I'm going to be speaking about 3 aspects of business communication and communication itself. The first one is the face-to-face skills, the aspects and how important it is. Second, the formal and informal communication. And third, the obstacles to effective communication at work. Face-to-face communication. What is it? It's communication between 2 or more people by direct contact. Now, is face-to-face communication important? Well, of course it is. It helps people to express their feelings and ideas much better. It helps them to realize easily if the person they're speaking with is sincere or not through their manner. And you can get response immediately, that too, without misunderstanding. Now, for example, say you send a text message to a friend of yours who always has their phone on handy and responded to almost anything and everything right away. So you send them a text message, you wait an hour, 2 hours, and not in 1 hour, 2 hours. The person didn't reply for the past 2 days. Now, you might misunderstand, maybe the person is angry with you or doesn't want to speak with you or doesn't care about, responding back to you anymore. Now, the fact could be that the person actually ended up losing their phone, the battery has been dead, or something else. The person is not angry with you, but you as the sender might just end up believing that the person who always responds to anything and everything right away is not interested in responding to you. So in that case, face-to-face communication is much, much better because you can get response immediately, and that too without misunderstanding. Next, face-to-face communication. Now, in face-to-face communication of the 100%, only 7% is the words that you choose to say. Of the 100%, 38% is the tone, the variation of tone, your pitch, your pace, your stress, your pause, etc. And of that, 55% is the nonverbal communication. Of the nonverbal communication, the first thing could be your body language. Whether you have an eye contact or not, whether you're confident or not, that's what it'll determine. Your gesture, your body shape, your posture, your appearance, your facial expressions. You're surprised, you're angry, you're happy, you're determined, you're sad, you're fearful of something, you're interested in something, or either you can be upset. Your gesture. You yawn, meaning you're bored. You're shaking your fist, oh, I'm angry. You're clapping of hands, I approve. Placing first finger on lips, shh, be silent. Next, the obstacles to effective communication at work. Well, the first and the most common barrier that does take place at workplace is the perceptual barrier. It is a difference in opinion between 2 people, and since people have a variation of opinions about different things, it could bring in a barrier for them to when communicating. One tries to take over the other while they want to get their point across or their opinion across. Other obstacles would be ego involvement. You let the worst of you to take the better of you. And the physical barriers. Other obstacles to effective communication would be such as competition. Since the market now, any job, anywhere you go, it is competition. It's competitive. So competition for power, status, and rewards. So the competition can bring in a barrier between the colleagues to end up actually fighting with each other. Not that they were physically fighting, they would end up having a fight with each other, or a communicational fight. That is, lack of communication skills. And other obstacles would be such as lack of trust between management and employees. Or there could be a close communication climate, not much of a communication happening in a workplace. Next, two very important communication styles that take place in the world, be it work or the actual social life of yours, is formal and informal communication. Now, formal communication is actually communication efforts that are dressed up to fit customary rules and ceremonies. It usually takes place in workplace or with people whom we don't know. We usually communicate formally. There's three types of formal communications. There's downward, which flows from management down to the subordinates. There's upward, which flows from the employees to the upper level management. And there's a horizontal, which flows across peers within the group or organization. Next type of communication is informal communication, which is a form of communication which is typically used in personal conversation. It's a casual exchange that doesn't conform to all the rules of formal communication. It's information sharing typically used in a personal conversation that you would have with your friends or family members. It's like saying hey instead of hello. Or it's more like writing to a friend or a family member and talking about personal things.
Let's now discuss the communication models. At some of the famous and frequently used communication models nowadays. Shannon's model. One of the earliest models of communication that introduced was Claude Shannon's model. This was introduced in 1948. This laid the foundation for the different communication models that we have today and has greatly helped and enhanced the communication process in various fields. This model can be considered as the granddaddy of many later communication models. Berlow's model. Another famous communication model is Berlow's model. In this model, he stresses on the relationship between the person sending the message and the receiver. Scram's model. Scram, on the other hand, emphasized in 1954 that both the sender and the receiver take turns playing the role of the encoder and the decoder when it comes to communication. Did you know that the first scientific study of nonverbal communication was Charles Darwin's book, The Expression of the Emotions in Man and Animals? Let's now discuss the verbal and nonverbal communication. The goal is to deliver a consistent message which informs customers and encourages them to purchase product or service. There are several ways to accomplish this, such as targeting a specific group to bring in customers or raising a business profile through widespread advertisement. The best method depends on the desired results and the best media depends on potential customers. Verbal communication. The basis of communication is the interaction between people. Verbal communication is one way for people to communicate face-to-face. Some of the key components of verbal communications are sound, words, speaking, and language. At birth, most people have vocal cords which produce sounds. As a child grows it learns how to form these words into sounds into words. Interpersonal speaking, verbal communication, is an essential part of business, and when it is executed correctly, good things happen. Because speaking is such an indelible activity, we tend to do it without much thought. Hierarchical communication. People communicate in businesses with each other, most often by oral communication. This talking takes place between managers, co-workers, and subordinates alike. In organizations, communication skill is used to send messages 64% of the time. That is why it is important to understand all the concepts of communication. Have you ever noticed how people communicate differently to their bosses than they would communicate to their co-workers? Public speaking. 7 steps to creating an effective speech are: the first step in making a speech is choosing a topic. The second step is to define the purpose of your speech. The third step is to get to know the audience. And the fourth step is to gather information for the speech. The fifth step is to organize the speech. The sixth step is to adding an introduction to the speech. The seventh step is adding a conclusion to the speech. Non-verbal communication. Brief overview of non-verbal communication is as follows: body language, sign language, paralanguage, circumstantial language, space, surroundings and time. Body language. Body language is the way the body communicates by its physical movements. When we study body language, we specifically look for inner states of emotion as expressed through different parts of the body and the physical movements. Body language mainly includes following subparts. Facial expressions. The facial expressions can divulge hidden emotions like anger, annoyance, confusion, enthusiasm, fear, hatred, joy, love, interest, sorrow, surprise, uncertainty, and others. They can also contradict verbal statements. Eye contact. Within the facial area, the eyes tell us much more than the facial features. The eyes, along with the eyebrows, upper and lower eyelids, and the size of the pupils, convey some inner body state. In fact, eye contact may be the best indicator of how involved a person is in the situation. Posture. Posture is the way we carry ourselves, like we may choose to stand or sit erect, lean forward or backwards, or slouch haphazardly. Postures non-verbally convey impressions of self-confidence, status, and interest. Gestures. Gestures are the physical movements of the arms, legs, hands, torso, and the head. When anyone is speaking, some gestures have standard meanings. For example, touching and tapping your forefinger to the top of your head means you are thinking. A slight variation with a single rapid tap means you have an idea. Types of business communication. There are two types of business communication in an organization: internal communication and external communication. Internal communication. Communication within an organization is called internal communication. It includes all communication within an organization. It may be informal or a formal function or department providing communication in various forms to employees. Effective internal communication is the vital means of addressing organizational concerns. Good communication may help to increase job satisfaction, safety, productivity, and profits, and decrease grievances and turnover. Under internal business communication types, there comes upward communication, downward communication, horizontal or literal communication. External communication. Communication with people outside the company is called external communication. Supervisors communicate with sources outside the organization, such as vendors and customers. It leads to better sales volume, public credibility, operational efficiency, company profits. It should improve the overall performance. It should improve the public goodwill, corporate image. Ultimately, it helps to achieve organizational goals, customer satisfaction. The media of communication. We divide the different types of communication medium into two different categories: physical media and mechanical media. With physical media, we mean channels where the person who is talking can be seen and heard by the audience. The whole point here is to be able to not only hear the messages, but also to see the body language and feel the climate in the room. This does not need to be two-way channels. In certain situations, the receiver expects physical communication. Now, in the end, let us summarize what we have learned in this lecture. The marketing communication process can be very complex, but it is based on the universal model used in all forms of communication, which includes a sender, the message, receivers, and a medium, and in case of the two-way communications, feedback. Noise refers to any signals that may interfere with the messages being carried. This again would depend on the method of communication. Verbal communication is an essential part of business, and when it is executed correctly, good things happen. Horizontal communication normally involves coordinating information and allows people with the same or the similar rank in an organization to cooperate or collaborate. Selling involves personal contact. This promotional method often occurs through face-to-face meetings or via a telephone conversation, though newer technologies allow contact to take place over the internet, including using video conferencing or text messaging. Integration of all the elements of promotion mix is necessary to meet the information requirements of all the target customers.